Before there were banks, before there were coins, before there were kings who stamped their face on metal, there was a problem. And the solution to that problem changed everything about what it means to be human. I am Salomón, and today we follow money, not to understand wealth, but to understand something far more interesting: what money reveals about us. Let us begin where all great stories begin, not with gold, with grain. 5,000 years ago, in the valleys of Mesopotamia, a farmer had wheat, a shepherd had wool. They needed what the other had, so they traded. Simple, direct, honest. But then the farmer needed sandals, and the sandal maker didn't want wheat. He wanted oil, and the oil merchant wanted wool. And suddenly, the world's first economic crisis was born. Not from greed, but from the impossibility of matching every need with every need at the same moment. The ancient solution was clay. Small tablets of baked earth, scratched with marks that said, "This person owes this amount of grain to be delivered at harvest." It was not money. It was a promise, a recorded promise. And the moment humanity trusted a clay tablet more than a handshake, civilization took a step forward it has never taken back. By 600 BC, in a small kingdom called Lydia, in what is now Western Turkey, a king named Alyattes did something that seems obvious to us now, but was revolutionary then. He took electrum, a natural alloy of gold and silver, and stamped it into uniform pieces. Same weight, same purity. The king's mark as guarantee. For the first time in history, value had a face. You didn't need to know the merchant. You didn't need to trust the man. You trusted the coin. And that shift, from trusting a person to trusting a symbol, is one of the most profound leaps in the story of human civilization. Greece refined it. Rome scaled it. An empire stretching from Britain to Persia, held together not only by legions and roads, but by a shared currency that said, "We are all part of the same agreement." But Rome fell. And when it did, so did the trust in its coins. And then something extraordinary happened on the other side of the world. In China, during the Tang Dynasty, merchants began depositing their heavy metal coins with trusted houses and receiving paper receipts in return. They started trading the receipts instead of the coins. By the Song Dynasty, the government formalized it. Paper money. A piece of paper worth something only because everyone agreed it was. The world had just crossed a threshold it could never uncross. Now we come to Florence, 14th century, a family that began in the wool trade and became, quietly, the most powerful financial force in the Western world. The Medici, a family that built a legacy on trust. Cosimo de' Medici understood something that kings and merchants before him had not fully grasped, that money does not need to move to work. What needs to move is trust. His family invented the lettera di cambio, the letter of exchange. A merchant in Florence could deposit gold, receive a letter, travel to London or Bruges or Rome, and withdraw an equivalent sum from a Medici branch there. No gold crossed the Alps, no robbery was possible. Only the letter moved. Only the promise traveled. For the first time, money was not a thing. It was a network. The Medici financed popes, they financed wars, they bankrolled the Renaissance, Botticelli, Michelangelo, Leonardo, because they understood that culture, like credit, is built on the willingness to invest in something whose return you cannot see immediately. Europe adopted their model. Goldsmiths became bankers. Banks began issuing notes. Governments backed those notes with gold reserves. And for centuries, the world operated on a fragile but functional agreement. Every unit of currency represents a quantity of gold sitting somewhere in a vault. This was called the gold standard, and it held, more or less, until the morning of August 15th, 1971. That Sunday, President Richard Nixon appeared on American television and announced that the United States would no longer exchange dollars for gold. The link was severed. The anchor was lifted. From that moment forward, the dollar was backed by nothing physical. No metal, no commodity, only the full faith and credit of the United States government. Only trust. And here is what I want you to sit with for a moment. The Lydian coin worked because people trusted the king's stamp. The Medici letter worked because people trusted the family's network. The dollar works today because nearly every nation on earth has agreed, without being forced at gunpoint, to accept it as the measure of value. Money has never been about metal. It has never been about paper. From the clay tablet to the coin, to the letter, to the bill, to the digital balance on your screen, money has always been one thing and one thing only: a collective act of faith. The ancient teachers understood this. They said, a community is not held together by its walls. It is held together by its word, by the agreements people make and choose to honor. Every coin ever minted, every bill ever printed, every transaction ever made, they are all, at their core, a society saying, we trust each other enough to make this work. The question worth asking is not where money came from. The question is, what does it say about us that the most powerful force in human civilization is not gold, not armies, not technology, but the simple, fragile, extraordinary willingness to believe in a shared promise? I am Salomón. I will see you in the next one.